Which of the following statements most correctly describes decussations? And just as a test-taking strategy, let's just take a look at the choices and see if there's any we could eliminate from the start, just so we have a little bit less to work with to make it a little bit easier. So if we take a look at option C here, structures that sense pain. So not always, but usually when you're sensing something, it probably will relate to some sort of receptor. And nociceptors, and it looks like this, nociceptors are actually the receptors that sense pain. And therefore we can eliminate option C and then bring us down to only 3 options to decide from. Now let's see if there's any others that we could eliminate. So you might remember seeing when it has, looking at option A, areas which connect neurons to one another. So remember, if you have your neuron that looks sort of like this, and then you have another neuron connecting, that's the basic unit for transmitting information in the form of a synapse, because that's the name, synapse, of transmitting information from neurons to neurons, and that's how they connect. So therefore we could eliminate option A because the term decussation does not relate to a synapse. Now we're down to option B and option D, the areas where neural pathways cross, and option D, structures that make up the myelin sheath. So let's discuss what decussations are. So a decussation, this is a point in the nervous system where nerve fibers cross from one side of the body to another. So cross over from one side to the other, and this means that a signal that goes from one side of the brain will control the opposite side of the body. So this is something that you would consider in the form of some sort of brain injury or some sort of stroke, something where there's some sort of deficit or damage to the brain. So with this concept of decussation, let's say that this is the person's brain, and then let's say that this is the person underneath, right? So let's say that they have some sort of insult to the brain here. Maybe they had some sort of injury, some sort of stroke, something went wrong. So that part of the brain, with this whole concept of decussation, crosses over and controls the other side of the body. So therefore, if they have some sort of injury or stroke or some sort of trauma, this would be their right side of their brain, because remember, we're looking at it like a mirror image. This would be their right, this would be their left. So the left side of their body would be affected, and we would need to do rehabilitation or surgery or some sort of intervention to this side when this is the side that was affected. So right affects left, and therefore with that same concept, the left affects the right. And this concept of decussation, based on the 2 choices we have left, which one would match that? B, areas where neural pathways cross, which sounds like what we're describing, or option D, structures that make up the myelin sheath. Well, we didn't discuss anything about structures or the myelin sheath, so we know that option B would be the best option here. The structures that make up the myelin sheath, that is more related to your Schwann cells, which is related to the peripheral nervous system, PNS, or if we were focusing in on the central nervous system, that would be your oligodendrocytes. And therefore we can eliminate option D, and option B, areas where the neural pathways cross, would be your correct answer for this question.